Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Subscribe to that as well.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yes, we are. They're the sponsor of the podcast, sponsor of the YouTube channel. Go make yourself a cocktail.
Try a Tito's kickoff with OJ soda water and some Tito's. Don't forget, savor responsibly. We await the status of Trey Lance, who did actually have the little splint on, hand on the shoulder of Deebo Samuel. Didn't throw in the period that media was able to watch on Monday. I saw a good point.
You're saying he had the splint in on Deebo's picture with the sweet coat?
Yeah. I went back and looked.
Gotcha.
So there was that. And then, more importantly, he didn't throw in practice on Monday. Could he still be available for the game? Absolutely he could. But I got to give credit to David Lombardi, who I saw tweet, you're not paying Jimmy Garoppolo $24 million to then rush Trey Lance back before you're really ready to put him on the football field. I thought that was a good way of looking at it, even though I'd love to see Trey Lance on the football field.
Jimmy, we pivoted quick from a conversation I think you, me, Mayoko had on the sideline probably week 1 of training camp when Trey Lance looked spectacular, to be like, is Jimmy's money in some trouble? To Jimmy's just in cruise control right now. And he was going to probably get the $25 million whether Trey hurt his hand or not. To me, that forced the issue. I know a big story on Monday was after their practice, they released a statement, the 49ers did. Maybe it was a text message to all the media people that said the starting quarterback in the National Football League has to talk twice a week. He has to talk on Mondays, and he has to talk after the game. It's just part of the built-in media schedule for the league, which is smart. You want your star players mandated to talk. They do not allow Kevin Durant hiding. That's not the business of the league. And it's just the quarterback just do it. So when they tell you that Jimmy Garoppolo was talking on Wednesday, a big thing I saw on my Twitter timeline from people that just like, well, that means Jimmy Garoppolo's starting, right? It kind of solidifies that that's who talks. Like I would imagine Andy Dalton for the Bears, right, talks tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just part of the, Tom Brady, you go around the league, you can name 32 of them, right? Mac Jones will talk tomorrow. Honestly, it doesn't feel like I've seen any Mac Jones clips of him talking. I'm actually probably most interested. I kind of want to see him talk tomorrow. Just see some of the quotes.
I did see there was a quote. Somebody asked him if he was surprised that he won the starting job, and he said no.
He's teaching Cam the playbook. So to me, the biggest question mark is now that we know Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback. And I'd say it felt like we knew that once Trey had the splint on his hand. Now, the number one question is, is Trey Lance going to dress on Sunday? Because I would say that's in question right now.
Yeah.
I'll be fascinated to see tomorrow. Is he limited in practice? Because if he can't throw tomorrow, I would say more than likely he's not going to play in the game. And then they're going to have to cut someone come Saturday and move what's-his-name up.
Nate Sudfeld. Yeah, if he can't throw, you can't have him as your backup. Jimmy Garoppolo's been hurt before. Now, the question is, does Kyle Shanahan have any desire, even if Trey can't throw, to pretend that he can and give him a few plays running the football?
I would say that to me is borderline stupidity at this. That's kind of crazy.
I agree.
You're a guy in a splint. You're running around and getting hit by the first time an NFL player can play the week 1 when the violence is really high, right?
Also,
I don't even care if you
forget about his health, which is the primary concern here, because long term you're really invested. But just on the most basic level, he might fumble.
Even before to me, that I just view it like I'd have to look. I haven't even looked at the Lions depth chart. They're just that irrelevant. I don't care who they're rolling out. Those guys would be coming for his hand, right?
Dan Campbell, you think Dan Campbell's a big kill the head and the body will die guy?
I could say that he would probably lead some of those type conversations in some team meetings. Maybe not with this squad. If you're going to do, in fairness to Greg Williams, he was giving that speech going into a playoff game, right?
Right.
I think that was the wild card game. That was, I understand it. I think it's harder when you're viewed as a 3. Your over under is 4.5.
Yeah.
Not that Dan Campbell cares about the over.
No, I think you're right. I think the odds at this point are good that we don't see him. Right. How often can a quarterback not, if he's your starting quarterback and you're gutting through it, right? If Trey Lance were the starting quarterback of this team, then I think there's a chance that he might still play, because it might be, well, can he throw? Yeah, he can throw. There's some pain tolerance. But he's not going to make the finger any worse by
You're saying if Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't on the squad, Like they didn't have like a
Yeah.
start,
Yeah,
like if this was next year.
I'm saying just make it QB1, a guy who's clearly QB1. I don't know what the odds that guy plays this game is, but I think there's there's a greater likelihood that he would play if he were just the starting quarterback and it was Trey Lance number 1, Nate Sudfeld your backup.
I don't know enough about his, like, if he can't grip the ball, he can't grip the ball, right? I mean, if there's pain on snaps, you're right. Maybe if it was like a pinch, a wild card game, and he could only take the ball out of, but I think this would be something if it was just throwing hand, it's just throwing finger, right? I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is. What I'm saying is if it's just a pain tolerance issue, which is a major fact, pain, like that's a thing.
I think it's fair to say at this point in time, they probably avoided disaster. Like he could have shattered the finger. Like clearly it's good enough where he can still be at practice. To me, he could have a full on, like it could be bad.
Well, you don't like
remember
my
Drew
idea
Brees a couple years ago?
How much time did he miss?
6 games or something, 5 games. Remember stayed in LA and like rehabbed his thumb, and then Teddy played all those games, and then he came back. It was a question like, remember the question was with Drew, like, would it end the season? And he was like
and
dead
when
set
he came
on
back,
coming back.
It was not close to 100%, right?
Yeah. So I would, this is not.
As we talk about it, I don't expect to see Trey Lance at this point.
I don't either.
John, let's tell the people about DraftKings. Sign up at DraftKings right now with the promo code HAM and get in our game. It's linked in the description below.
How about a good night's sleep with our friends at sleepnumber.com/ham? Biggest sale of the year right now, sleepnumber.com/ham. I think they really should be pretty glad that he didn't really break his finger. Like where it would have required, a month in a cast or something. Because you see that a lot when guys shatter a finger. Sometimes you just got to put a cast. Maybe that's 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not 4 or 5, but still, like he's got a splint on and he's able to go to practice. Right? A lot of times that guy disappears for a while because he can't do anything unless you're a defensive lineman. There's nothing like the defensive lineman when he has like a club.
Until he's back throwing, I just can't assume he's back against the Eagles either. Right? We're talking about the experts say it should be a week, fast healers, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Until he's throwing consistently. And like the first day he throws is not necessarily the telltale because he's got to throw that day and feel okay throwing and be accurate throwing. Because you're right. It's not just about people going at his hand. I don't want him running out there hurt, throws a pick because he can't be accurate. And now we're in a bad situation too, right? He's got to
tackle.
Oh, yeah. How about that? You throw an interception and now people are coming after you.
To me, if you're putting the guy in pads, like if he's dressing as your backup, I said this last year about Tua when they're like, he's not quite ready yet. Well, he's your backup. So you're one rolled ankle away from him being in. So he has to be prepared to do everything. And he was your backup the whole time. If you're going to dress him on game day, you have to be prepared. After one snap, Jimmy gets KO'd. Can you run 55 plays with this guy?
Right.
Can you run an entire game? That to me is the only way you ever dress a guy, unless it's a wild card, like a one and done situation. But week 1.
Well, let's talk about it in the reality of your situation, which is this: if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, who gives you a better chance to win? Trey Lance with his finger, or Nate Sudfeld?
Well, if Trey Lance can't throw, it's Nate Sudfeld. He can throw.
Right. I mean, that to me, it's a simple. That's the way That's how you end up forcing a guy into a lineup because you go, I don't think I can go with the backup, or the third stringer, and that's where you're lucky that you're playing the Detroit Lions this week.
Yeah, I would say Mullins, but he's on the Browns 53.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Sudfeld right now is not on the 53-man roster, so they would have to cut someone. There's always the guy that you're on their team, but you are the 53rd man. And if you better pray that Trey's finger's okay, because you will get released and you will not get a game check. And Sudfeld will. So if I'm Sudfeld, there's a big difference between $9,500 a week and whatever the full game check is. I mean, it might be like 95 or 60, right? I mean, it's probably 5X. If I'm Sudfeld, this might be my chance to get that $60,000 check. It's a pretty big check for a week.
If you're Sudfeld, it's, knowing Jimmy Garoppolo's history too, and knowing the way the Niners intend to use Trey Lance, you're in a pretty good spot. But, I expect to see Nate Sudfeld on the sideline with a helmet on this week.